We're counting down the 10 black inventors whose groundbreaking creations were stolen, erased, or exploited by others. From corporate patent thefts and legal loopholes to inventions that shaped entire industries without fair credit, each entry reveals a deeper pattern of injustice and ingenuity lost to history. Which story shows the true cost of stolen brilliance? Let's begin with number 10. In 1897, Elbert R. Robinson of Chicago secured U.S. patent number 594,286 for a new method of casting composite car wheels. His design promised stronger, more reliable railway wheels, an advance that caught the attention of two major corporations. Soon after, Robinson discovered his patented process in use without permission. He filed suit, determined to defend his rights. But the legal battlefield was stacked against him. Robinson, like many black inventors of his era, faced a stark reality. Defending a patent required money for skilled lawyers, expert witnesses, and court fees. Lacking resources, he could not match the deep pockets of corporate defendants. The case faltered not on the strength of his invention or the validity of his patent, but because he simply could not afford to fight. Robinson's business closed its doors, and the royalties he was owed never arrived. His story stands as one of many where innovation was not enough, where the law offered protection on paper but little in practice for those denied real access to justice. Henry Boyd was born enslaved in Kentucky in 1802, but after buying his freedom, he set out to solve a problem that plagued families across the country: rickety beds that collapsed under the slightest movement. Boyd's answer was the Boyd bedstead, a sturdy wooden frame reinforced with corded rails and clever joinery. His invention was so effective that it became a sought-after fixture in homes and boarding houses throughout Ohio and beyond. But in the 1830s, the Patent Office was no ally to a black inventor. Knowing the risks, Boyd made a hard decision. He partnered with a white craftsman, allowing the partner to file the patent in his own name. The arrangement shielded Boyd's business from legal threats, but it came at a price. The official records listed his partner as the inventor. Boyd's workshop in Cincinnati grew, employing both black and white workers, producing hundreds of bedsteads each year. Yet as sales soared, the credit for his innovation faded behind another man's name. A compromise forced by a system that punished black ingenuity with erasure. For Boyd, survival meant sacrificing the recognition he deserved. In 1858, Benjamin Montgomery submitted an application to the U.S. Patent Office for a new steamboat propeller designed for shallow southern waters. Montgomery, born into slavery on the Davis Bend plantation in Mississippi, had spent years developing a solution that allowed boats to navigate areas where traditional propellers failed. The invention was already in use, delivering supplies along the Mississippi River and supporting commerce across the region. But when Montgomery's application reached Washington, officials refused to even consider it. The law was clear. Only citizens could hold patents, and the government did not recognize enslaved people as citizens or legal persons. The rejection letter, preserved in National Archives records, stated flatly that Montgomery cannot receive a patent for his invention. His enslaver attempted to claim the patent in his own name, but the office denied that application as well, citing lack of true inventorship. Despite the official denial, the propeller was widely adopted, fueling business and profit for others. Montgomery's story exposes how the patent system was weaponized to enforce slavery's boundaries, turning human ingenuity into another commodity, stripped of ownership and dignity. In 1848, the bustling whaling port of New Bedford drew ships from around the world, all chasing the promise of oil. At the heart of this industry was a tool that changed everything: the toggle harpoon, invented by Lewis Temple, a black blacksmith who had escaped slavery in Virginia. Before Temple's design, whalers relied on barbed harpoons that often slipped free, letting wounded whales escape. Temple's toggle head, inspired by indigenous hunting tools, pivoted inside the whale's flesh, securing the catch and transforming whaling into a far more profitable venture. Within a few years, every major whaling fleet had adopted Temple's invention. Whaling logs from New Bedford in the 1850s list the Temple toggle as standard equipment, and ship owners credited the device with dramatic increases in successful hunts. Yet while the industry reaped millions from whale oil, Temple saw little reward. He never patented his design, partly because of the costs and the legal barriers black men faced in protecting their inventions. Competitors quickly copied the harpoon, manufacturing it by the thousands. Temple's own earnings remained modest. Records show he supported his family with a small blacksmith shop, never sharing in the wealth his invention generated. The toggle harpoon became a symbol of American ingenuity, but its creator's name faded from the ledgers of profit and recognition. Granville T. Woods earned the nickname Black Edison for good reason. Over the course of his career, Woods secured at least 45 patents, each one pushing the boundaries of electrical engineering and railway technology. Yet every breakthrough brought new challenges, not just technical, but legal. Woods' most famous invention, the induction telegraph, promised to prevent train collisions by allowing moving trains to communicate with stations and each other. But when Woods filed for a patent, he found himself up against Lucius Phelps, a man tied to Thomas Edison's business interests. Both claimed to be the true inventor. The dispute triggered a formal patent interference case, with each side presenting witnesses and documentation to the U.S. Patent Office. Woods traced his work back to 1881. While Phelps could only prove development from late 1884, the office sided with Woods, awarding him the patent in 1887. But the legal fight didn't end there. Over the years, Woods defended his inventions in more than a dozen court battles, facing well-financed adversaries determined to claim his ideas. Even after winning, Woods often had to sell his patents to the very companies that challenged him, usually for far less than their worth. The court dockets of the 1880s and 1890s read like a recurring script, a black inventor defending his rights, while powerful interests tried to strip them away. For Woods, the patent system offered protection in theory, but in practice it became another battleground, one where victory rarely meant security or reward. Steam engines once powered the backbone of American industry, but their success depended on a simple, overlooked problem: keeping machinery running smoothly without constant shutdowns for oiling. Elijah McCoy, born in 1844 to formerly enslaved parents, transformed this challenge into an engineering breakthrough. Trained as a mechanical engineer in Scotland, McCoy returned to Michigan and took a job as a railroad fireman, one of the few technical positions open to black men at the time. On the job, he saw firsthand how engines stalled for manual lubrication, wasting time and money. His solution was a self-regulating lubricator, patented in 1872, that automatically dripped oil onto moving parts while trains ran at full speed. Railroads and factories rushed to adopt McCoy's innovation. Trade journals from the 1880s list his lubricators as standard equipment on major lines from Detroit to Pittsburgh. Yet as demand soared, so did imitation. Dozens of companies copied his designs, tweaking the mechanism just enough to sidestep legal trouble. McCoy filed patent after patent, over 50 in total, each one improving on the last. But the profits rarely matched the impact, while his name became a mark of quality among engineers, leading to the phrase, "the real McCoy." Mainstream histories rarely credited him. The wealth generated by his inventions flowed mostly to corporations and imitators, not to McCoy himself. For decades, his genius was celebrated in whispers among mechanics and railroad men, even as official records and textbooks left him out. The story of Elijah McCoy is a reminder that even a household phrase can mask a legacy of brilliance denied its proper due. Marie Van Brittan Brown lived in Queens, New York, where long police response times left families feeling exposed. As a nurse working irregular hours, she knew firsthand the anxiety of being home alone. In 1966, she and her husband Albert designed a system that let residents see and speak to whoever stood outside their door, without ever opening it. Their invention, granted U.S. patent number 3,482,037 in 1969, included a motorized camera that could be moved between peepholes, a television monitor, and a two-way microphone. With the press of a button, a resident could view visitors, communicate with them, and even remotely unlock the door. This was the world's first closed-circuit home security system, a forerunner to the cameras and smart doorbells now found in millions of homes. Despite its potential, the Browns' invention stayed under the radar. Early trade journals and patent records make clear that industry interest was immediate. Security companies adopted the technology, and the closed-circuit system became a blueprint for future residential safety devices. Yet the Browns' names rarely appeared in the product literature or advertising. Licensing deals were minimal, and no major manufacturer credited Marie or Albert as the originators. The pattern was familiar, a black inventor's breakthrough, quietly absorbed into the mainstream, stripped of its origin story. In interviews, Marie described her motivation as a simple desire for safety, but her system reimagined home security for an entire generation. The next wave of consumer safety technology would build on her work, but recognition for the Browns remained an afterthought, a reflection of the gendered and racial biases that shaped whose inventions were celebrated and whose were simply used. Garrett Morgan's inventions changed the course of public safety, but his name rarely appears in the stories told about American innovation. In 1914, Morgan patented a safety hood designed to protect firefighters from smoke and toxic gas. His device, a forerunner to the modern gas mask, used a system of tubes and wet sponges to filter out deadly fumes. When a tunnel collapse in Cleveland trapped workers underground, Morgan's hood allowed rescuers to reach survivors. Newspapers at first praised the life-saving device, but when word spread that the inventor was black, coverage shifted. Some papers omitted his name, while others credited the invention to his business partners. The pattern was clear. Morgan's race made his genius inconvenient for a press eager to celebrate progress, but unwilling to acknowledge its source. Morgan's drive to protect lives didn't stop there. In 1923, he patented a traffic signal with 3 positions: stop, go, and all-directional halt. This third position, a warning phase, standardized intersections and reduced accidents nationwide. The U.S. Patent Office granted him patent number 1,475,024, but as cities adopted the new system, his role faded from public memory. Trade journals and municipal records describe the new signals as technological leaps, yet rarely mention Morgan. Years later, General Electric bought his patent, and the story of the black inventor behind the stoplight was buried beneath corporate branding and sanitized histories. Morgan's invention saved countless lives, but the credit was systematically erased. Patent filings bear his name, but the public record does not. The erasure of Morgan's legacy is not just a footnote. It is a reminder that the benefits of innovation can reach millions, even as the inventor is written out of the story. In the fields of the American South, long before Eli Whitney's name became synonymous with the cotton gin, enslaved black laborers had already developed ways to separate cotton fibers from seeds. Their hands shaped wooden combs and wire tools, refining a process that turned a slow, grueling task into something manageable. Whitney, a recent Yale graduate, arrived in Georgia in 1793 and witnessed these methods firsthand. Within a year, he filed for a patent on his own version, a hand-cranked machine that promised to clean cotton faster than ever before. In 1794, Whitney received U.S. patent number 72X for the cotton gin. The impact was immediate and staggering. Cotton exports from the United States soared from 138,000 pounds in 1791 to over 6 million pounds by 1796. Southern planters, flush with new profits, expanded their operations. The nation's economy was transformed. Yet the men and women whose ingenuity made it possible remained nameless, their contributions erased by law and custom. Not a single enslaved inventor received credit, compensation, or legal protection for the techniques and tools they had created. The wealth generated by the cotton gin fueled the growth of plantations, the expansion of slavery, and the rise of American industry, while the true originators saw nothing but more labor and deeper exploitation. Plantation records from the era describe the use of combs, rollers, and hand-cranked devices built and improved by enslaved craftsmen. Some overseers wrote of ingenious Negroes who fashioned tools to ease the burden of cotton cleaning. But these innovations were treated as property, absorbed into the machinery of profit without acknowledgement. Whitney's patent, fiercely defended in court, never mentioned the collective knowledge he had borrowed. The legacy of the cotton gin is measured not only in bales and dollars, but in the silence that followed. An entire generation of black inventors denied even the memory of their achievement, their genius buried beneath another man's name. In the late 1870s, Jan Ernst Matzeliger arrived in Lynn, Massachusetts, driven by a single goal: to solve the bottleneck that had long frustrated the shoe industry. At that time, lasting, the process of shaping the upper over the sole was painstaking work, done entirely by hand. Even the most skilled workers could manage only 50 pairs in a 10-hour shift. Shoes remained expensive, out of reach for many families, and factories struggled to keep up with demand. Matzeliger, born to a Surinamese mother and a Dutch engineer, spent years working in shoe shops by day and tinkering with prototypes by night. He scavenged scrap metal and wood, building and rebuilding a machine that could replicate the delicate movements of a human hand. In 1883, his persistence paid off. U.S. patent number 274,207 was granted for his automatic shoe-lasting machine. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Production soared to as many as 700 pairs per worker per day, a tenfold increase. The price of shoes dropped by nearly half, making quality footwear accessible to ordinary people for the first time. Factories across the country rushed to adopt the new technology, and the industry's output multiplied exponentially in the years that followed. Yet the wealth generated by this breakthrough never reached its inventor. Lacking capital, Matzeliger assigned 2/3 of his patent rights to business partners in exchange for financing, a common arrangement that left him with only a fraction of the profits. He became a major stockholder in the Consolidated Lasting Machine Company, but the relentless pace of his work took a toll. Years of deprivation and overwork left him in poor health. Matzeliger died in 1889 at just 37 before he could enjoy the rewards of his invention. Estate records and local histories reveal that he died with little to his name, while companies built on his machine grew into industrial giants. United Shoe Machinery would soon absorb his patents and company stock, folding his creation into a corporate empire. The shoe-lasting machine revolutionized American manufacturing, but its creator's name faded from memory. Matzeliger's story is one of brilliance overshadowed by dispossession, a pattern that left black inventors behind, even as their ideas changed the world. Across all 10 entries, this list has traced a sobering story of ingenuity met with injustice. From E.A. Robinson's lost wheel casting royalties to Jan Ernst Matzeliger's shoe-lasting revolution that left him in poverty, the pattern is clear. Black inventors consistently faced legal barriers, corporate theft, and historical erasure. Some, like Benjamin Montgomery and the anonymous cotton gin innovators, were denied even the right to patents because of their enslaved status, while others, such as Elijah McCoy and Garrett Morgan, saw their creations copied and their names hidden from the history books. Whether through proxy filings, relentless lawsuits, or outright exclusion, every inventor qualified for this list because their original ideas were appropriated and their rightful recognition denied. The most extreme cases, like the transformation of American industry by the cotton gin and the mechanization of shoemaking, show that the nation's progress was often built on invisible black genius. This list reveals a deeper truth. The story of American innovation cannot be told honestly without acknowledging those whose brilliance was stolen and whose legacy demands to be reclaimed.